Okay, so I guess yesterday's video didn't upload, so I'm re-uploading it right now. You'll probably see two tonight, but the other one was from last night. Anyways, today I'm going to see if I can do what I can to get this hood so that it's, you know, more or less in line with the fenders there. We'll see how that goes, and what we're going to do with that. Now, I'm going to try something different from what I was doing before. I was always adjusting it with the hood up, but since I don't have the inner fenders in, I can just as easily as not loosen the bolts and drop it down or move the hinge around from inside. Got plenty of room here. So, I'm going to try that. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I was trying to figure out why this won't go down. And I even grabbed a spare hinge that I had powder coated at one point and took measurements off of it just in case there was like a difference between a GMC hood hinge and a Chevy hood hinge, because the hoods are different. Slightly. I think the GMC has just a steeper rake on the front, but nevertheless. And couldn't see any difference. And this side definitely will not go down. I cannot pull it down, but I went and I tried it on this side, and I actually can pull this side down. So the two hinges that I got on this truck are different. That's the problem with having a lot of truck parts lying around, is that I must have mixed one set up around. And I think I know what the problem is. I'm going to pop the hood and I'll show you what I think it is. Now, it feels like this hood hinge is hitting a hard stop at the end. And if I'm right, I think, let's see if I can pull this light over here and we can actually see something. I think that is actually, those are hitting something up here in the top of the hood. But I don't know. I might try pulling that hood hinge off, putting on the other one I got sitting right there, because that's another right-hand one, left-hand one, and see if it makes any difference. You know, or maybe I'm just going to have to just see where I can figure out why this one is stopping at some point. Because this is the nicer of the two hood hinges here. Like this one powder coated much nicer than the other one that I got sitting there. That's why I was using it. But, you got to use what you got to use. Okay, so this one was the one I pulled off the truck that doesn't seem to want to collapse all the way. And this is the one of the spare ones here. And they look mostly the same. There's a slight difference here and here, but that's not going to make any difference to how far it closes. But it does. There appears to be a very, very subtle difference. And when I lined them up side by side, I noticed that on this one, this back edge was just a little bit lower. But, you know, that might be just that that's as far as that went. Anyways, I'm going to try that one on, and we'll see if it closes all the way. But if it does close all the way, I'm not going to understand that unless something on one of these pins here is hitting something on the shell of the hinge. Doesn't look like they could. Yeah, looks like there's clearance there. That's very, very weird. Unless some of the powder coating is causing it to bind right there. You can see a bit of a wad of... Oh, there you go. You can see a bit of a wad of something there. I'm going to poke at that and see if that's a hunk of something hardened in there hard. Maybe that's what's keeping it from closing all the way. Because I'd rather use this one, because this one, the powder coating on it, granted, this is all covered with dust, but the powder coating on this one turned out much better. I can actually see some rust bubbling through on this one, and all it's been doing is just sitting up in the top of the shop. Let me try that first. Well, I did not put the other hinge on. And you'll see that the side is sitting, well, it's a little lower than it's supposed to be, but that actually is a good thing. It was that piece of plastic that was in there. It was a hard piece of powder coating, like almost like a run, and it actually was there enough that it was interfering with the hinge closing all the way. So I shaved that off with the razor knife, and now it's pretty much flush. I'll have to do a little bit more adjusting here to tilt the hood a bit so that it's better. Gap on this side is okay, but the gap on this side is a little bit wide. At this end, you know, I can even it out between the two sides. I think I can actually shim the hood over, although that's probably about the same distance there. What the problem is here is that this fender is, actually no, it's not. It could come over, probably, well, you're not going to see anything. Probably could come over around, it looks like 1/8 of an inch further over, but before it hits the edge of the core support. But that's not going to be enough to close up this gap, so I might have to kind of fold that bit of the core support over and see if I can move it over further. Like, I can kind of split the difference as well by you know, moving this as tight against the core support as I can, moving that one as tight against the core support as I can, which I actually have it set that way there. And then, you know, centering the core support so that the gaps, you know, are the same. They'll both be wedge shaped, but they'll be more consistent. And all that. Now the other thing I've got to do is the old grill. I'm going to make sure that the grill opening here, this distance between here and here, doesn't close up so much that grill won't work correctly. But I do have some advantage with that grill because I can tweak it a bit because I took the brackets off to paint them, and because I want to polish that thing as well. So what I can do is I can fit these in here and make the grill fit how these sit in there once I get the whole front clip done in there. It does mean that that grill will belong to this truck and only this truck, but you know, that's my problem, not anybody else's. Anyways, so now I got to figure out how much of that I can get back, and I'm gonna have to open up some of the holes in the core support. Let's see if it'll turn the light on for me here. Yes, it did. You can see that even with it, you know, not moved over all the way, that it's that hole is not big enough. I think I have a similar problem over here, although that one will be easy to adjust because I can just bump it over some, but I'll have to get that one established first. And then there's those things there as well. Nothing needs to be done with them, they just need to be tightened up when I got this all straightened out the way I want it. You can actually see that it's probably not, the front clip is not parallelogrammed because that would be sitting a little bit oddly. I can't actually see the camera view screen the way I'm holding it, but nevertheless, fiddling. And just wait until I have to put the inner fenders on. That's going to be a fun operation. Anyways, okay, well, let's see if we can't, I'll clamp this to the two pieces of the core support together and see how well I can center it, and if I can work with it that way, then I won't try and fold that over because I'll have to actually take the fender off to do that because it doesn't exactly work this way. Anyways, do it, not talk it. Okay, so I got a ratchet strap pulling the core support to the left, you know, well, left as seen from the driver's side, and that's opened this gap up a bit, which I'm fine with, but it's still a little tight back here. And what that did to this side was it closed this gap up to the point where it's pretty even. You know, it's a little bit narrower up here, but it's pretty even. So what I think I'm going to do is the actual part where the hinge attaches to the hood actually has a little bit of slop in it. So I'm going to try and use that to center things up a bit and go from there. But the reality is I really would like for the cowl to be on now before I tighten everything all up, because this distance here could be very critical, and it may be that the hood has to sit further forward than I think it does. Like, I assume that the hood is meant to be even with the front edge of this, which is pretty close to being. It's like within a, you know, less than 1/8 of an inch certainly. And on this side, probably about the same again. Now the hood can obviously go back because it's pretty much at the front limit of its travel right now, but nevertheless, I'm going to stop messing around with that for tonight, and I don't actually know what time it is. I don't think it's 8 o'clock yet. So what I might do is mourn the loss of my rotors. Actually, those should be okay. Clean them up, but those are brand new too. So those are going to have to get... Well, I'm hoping maybe I can just use some emery paper on them, but we'll see how they come up. There's no pitting, it's just light rusting. Anyways, boy, this really is the ADD garage. That is going to be my motto. Anyways, what I want to do is I want to put this on, but I can't put this on, the cowl on, until I sort out my windshield wiper mess. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock off on that today. And I have a plan for adapting my newer wiper motor to the old setup. And the reason why, I'll explain it again, is this newer wiper motor is a pulse wiper motor. And it's got the whole mechanism in here, and it's all controllable from the stock, which I'm not going to reuse the stock, but I'm going to see if I can jerry-rig. Well, I'm not jerry-rig, but I'm going to make an adapter basically to the switch assembly, using the guts of another switch. I like fabricating stuff and all that, but nevertheless, this whole thing can be controlled in pulse wiper mode just by the switch assembly. There's no actual computer block or anything like that there. So I want to use this. I'm going to make an adapter for this. So I want to make an adapter from that shaft to this shaft here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this is a 6mm nut on here. I'm going to get a 6mm coupler, threaded coupler, turn it down or cut it down some, and open up one end of it. And this is going to slide into it, and I'm going to just weld it up. I'll drill some holes inside, and I'll plug weld it in there, or I might even just pin it. We'll see how we go there with a roll pin or something like that. That might actually be easier. Hopefully this shaft isn't really, really hard. I'm going to have to cut it, but we'll see how we go with actually drilling it. That's going to be interesting there. And the way that's set up is then I'll use the old guts of the old wiper motor as kind of like a front end for this here. And I know that right there is the mark. There's actually a C-clip that goes there that holds it at the correct distance out of it. And then this will just retain it from the backside, and I'll Loctite the coupler on. Anyways, that's, I suppose, what I'm going to do tomorrow. What time is it? Oh, my stereo is all freaked out and it won't show the time right now. 7:37. Oh, I got plenty of time then. Okay, well, I don't have a coupler, so I can't really do anything with that. So I might mess around some more with this. Anyways, okay, well, I'm glad I sorted that out. And the deal was that right in there was a nib that was hard enough that it was interfering with this. And what was happening was this piece here was hitting it and locking it up solid. Anyways, I'm going to put this down and finish up and talked for 5.5 minutes. So I think I will probably call it a night.